Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today we have a fun one here. This one is called Blobz Does Oil and Water by Blobz, of course. Let's jump into this and see what these rule sets are, because it's not one that I've done often. I think I've done some kind of concept like this, but prior to when I've started actually doing some recordings. So what do we got going on here? So we've got normal Sudoku apply. So every row, every column, and of course every 3x3 box contains digits 1 through 9 once each. We've got pink lines, which are all of the lines shown, which are going to be Renban lines. So they contain a set of consecutive digits. So all of these digits must be consecutive. They do not have to be in a specific order. They just have to be a consecutive set of digits. Then we've got digits in cages do not repeat and must sum to the small clue if given. So we can find any of these, like this 11 clue here. These three digits just add up to 11, and they cannot repeat. Then we've got the main portion of our rule set here. So each cage is either full of oil, even digits, full of water, odd digits, or a mix of both. In all cases, each row within a cage is just one type, oil or water. Oil floats on water, so even digits will always be in rows above odd digits in mixed cages. So what does all of that mean? Let's just take an example. Let's look at this guy here. What we know is that this guy is either completely full of oil, which would be all even digits. It's either completely full of water, which means these would all be all odd digits, or it's a mix of the two. And if it's a mix of the two, the water portion would be down here somewhere. This is just an example, so we don't not knowing which one's which, and then the oil portions would sit on top of it. Now you can never, what this says here, have these two be water and this be oil, because you would be breaking this portion. These would have to both be of the same oil or water. So those are the rules. Hopefully that's understandable. And let's jump into this thing, see if we can figure it out. So where the heck are we going to start? These are actually pretty good things to start with, because we know that digits and cages cannot repeat. So therefore, there's no way that these could be either full water or full oil. So it must be some combination of the two. Now, how many digits do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So it's going to be some combination. So the most water, the most oil, those are the even digits we can possibly have in any of these cages is going to be 4 of them, because there's only 4 even digits. And then the most water we can ever have in any of these cages will be 5, because there's only 5 odd digits. So first off, we can say the water can never extend above this line for this particular cage. I think it's the exact same thing up here as well, because if we were to put any more water, we have to put water in all of these. So therefore, these can never be water. So these are all oil. Now, how do we want to represent this? It makes sense that water would be blue. And let's do something like orange for the even digits, even though it's pretty much the opposite of how I would normally do it in terms of orange for odd, and then I typically do blue for evens. But because we're working with water and oil here, this seems like the better way to go about it. Hopefully I don't forget and mess up my digits here because of that change. But we also then know that now that these are even digits, and we'll do the same thing here once we finalize all this, that we can't continue any further down than this. So therefore, these must all be water and odd digits. Now, we don't know what this guy is going to be. It could be even or it could be odd. Now, is there a way to think about what they could be? A way to kind of determine if it's the extra even digit or if it's an extra odd digit. I'm trying to count in my head, see if there is any way to look at that at the moment. I'm not quite sure there is. Because we could always have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which would give us which would give us the 4 and the 3. Or it could be 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which would give us the 4 even digits. And then the 3 odds, and that would still work. Okay. Well, let's just color these in while we're at it so that we know what we've got. We can probably start doing the same concepts with all of these as well. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8 digits. So I think what that's going to tell us is that's 4 evens and 4 odds. So we can never go to 5 odds, because if we did, we'd have this weird section here. And we can't do that because we have to have each row must be of the same type. But if we were to, and we can't go past 4 of even digits because there are only 4 even digits, and we can't, again, do 2 evens here. So this is going to just be, I did it backwards already. These will all be odd digits and water, and these will all be even digits. So we now know that all of our even digits are in this area, so these must all be odds. Now, I'm debating if I want to continue with that coloring. Probably will, because it kind of makes sense to do so, to just fill everything up as it needs to be. Now, the next thing to look at would be, well, it doesn't quite give us what this 15 is, because there's 2 different ways we could do this. I guess what we do know is there has to be a 5 in this 15. Or since all of these are odds, or either I can talk a 7, 3 with a 5, or it's a 9, 1 with a 5. I don't think there's any other way to do that. So we know there's a 5 in here, but we can't quite yet determine which one is, or what the other pair is. So maybe there's something else we can look at. Let's look down here then. So again, we're going to have at most, we're going to have 3 even digits. At most, we're going to have 4 odd digits. So again, we can say these have to be even. These have to be odd. Therefore, we have 4 evens. Sorry, no, 4 odds. Again, the coloring is messing with my head because I usually think of these in a different way. These are the odd digits. So we're going to have 1 more odd somewhere in here and 2 other evens. Okay. Let's just continue looking throughout these guys and see if we can figure anything out. Okay, so we have 6 digits here. So we must have these 2 be oil, odd, or water, odd, water. And beyond that, I guess we can say this one has to be an even oil, because we can't ever get that high with our water. So now we are complete here with our even oil. So all of these must be odd and water. And what next? Okay, so looking at this column, we have all of our odd waters. So therefore, these must be even oils. And can we continue with that process? Now, I did start looking at math to try to determine some of these cages if we could do something. It's probably going to have to get into that in a little bit, because we're going to know, like this 13, let's say, it has to be 1 odd and 1 even digit. There's no way that we can have 2 evens to equal an odd and 2 odds to equal an odd. So if we know it's 1 of each, we know the even's high, the odd is low because of oil and water. Now, in this region, well, actually, let's look at this guy first. This one has to be an even oil, which then finishes this region, which means this is an odd. Now in here, we know we'd have 2 more even oils and 1 more odd water. Okay. Can we do that similarly? Well, the 12, it either has to be both even or both odd. Is there any way to debunk either one of those? I don't see anything at the moment. What else do we have? What about this 18 cage? It is 4 cells. But it cannot be all evens. So it can't be all oil. There must at least be 1 water, which would therefore be at the bottom here. Because if it's all evens, obviously it would be 2, 4, 6, 8, which gives us 20. Can we go further with any of these? The 17. What can we do with it? Well, we know it can't all be odd. Because if it was, we would break this column. So therefore, there must be at least 1 even. If there's 1 even, I think that means there has to be 2 evens and 1 odd. Otherwise, the parities don't work together. Because the second you put an even in here, you're now at an even number. The only way to get back to an odd would be to add 1 even to keep it even, and then add another odd to it. Because if you were to add 2 odds, those would add up to an even, and then adding another even would keep you even. So this is going to have to be like this. Right, getting there. Now what else can we do? Let's see. Is it the same if we're looking at this 11? No, because this could very well be all odd. Or it could be 2 evens and an odd. Now, I think it always has to have a 1 in it, if I'm not mistaken. But we know it at least has 1 odd, so therefore this must be odd. Well, actually, we could just look across this row. We know all of these are odd waters because we already have all of our even oils. We now know, looking at this row, that we only have 1 even, so therefore we must have 3 more. And that solves it without us having to go through the machinations of whatever these things could possibly be. Okay. Now, can we continue in any of our rows or columns? Don't see anything obvious here. Again, this 12 could still be both evens or both odds, and it won't do anything negatively to the column side. What about the 18? We have to maintain evenness. We know there's 1 odd, but we can't have all odds. So we must have 1 more odd to be able to get us back to even. And again, we can't do 2 more odds to get to even. So we have to put an even in, and if we put an even in, there must be a second even there. Otherwise, we'd have odd, odd, which equals to odd, or even, sorry, plus an odd, which gets us to odd, and then we'd add an even to keep us at odd, so we can't do that. So this must be like this. That makes this the odd water, and these have to be even. Okay. Now, we have all of our evens, so these must be odds. If this is odd, this has to be odd. This now has to be even to complete our column. Then what do we have left over? We have this cage, which must have 1 even oil and 2 odd waters. Now, this must be even for our row. These must both be even for this row. This row is done, so these must be odds. All right. Now we need 2 evens and 1 odd in here. And we need 1 even and 1 odd over here. So that's giving us all of our evens, so this must be odd. That finishes the odds here, so these are all evens. We said we had to have 1 odd, 1 even, so this has to be odd. And we've got to be able to place, and we might end up with an X-wing situation here. We have to have 1 odd and 1 even, 1 odd and 1 even. And at the moment, I don't see how we can do that just yet. Okay. So now that we have this all kind of worked out in terms of odds and evens, let's see if we can dig a little deeper and see if we can start putting some actual digits into this puzzle. Let's see. Where's a good place to look? Is the question. How about this 17 clue? What are our options? I guess there are multiple options that this could be. So I don't know that that's the place to look. How about the 13? That's better, because we have a given 7. We haven't taken a look at what the 7 does yet. But 7, looking at this, is going to tell us that I think this has to be either a 9-4, 4 and 9 below, or it's an 8-5. So let's put those in. See how that helps us. Now, it might very well be the Renbans that are going to give us what we need to get moving on this thing. Let's think elsewhere. What about these 2 odd digits? Now, there's options there as to what they could be. There's options to what the 11 could be. But we said there always had to be a 1, right? Let's think about, is that accurate? No, it's not accurate at all. Because these could very well be 2, 4 equals 6, and this could be a 5. So that's not correct. All right, where do we need to look then to get ourselves moving forward with digits? Well, we know these are 2, 4, 6, and 8. Let's start thinking about Renbans, I guess. So we know we have to have 3 and 5 on here. There's only 1 digit missing, so we're only missing a 1 or a 9. Again, we know these are 2, 4, 6, 8. Can we use that to any use? Let's put them in relation to the Renban, because it forces 3, 5, and 7 here. Okay, that's something. So at least we know what this Renban is. it's missing both the 1 and the 9. The opposite way of looking at it, because these, as you can see, there's a difference in the juxtapositions of odds and evens here. So I think what we can say is there has to, when we ever have 4 odd digits, it always must include 3, 5, and 7. And then whatever's missing should be the 1 or the 9. Then the other one will be in this. Okay. To think a little bit more about how these are working together. So I guess what we can make some references between certain digits that they must be the same. Well, it's not necessary because this could be the same as this one or this one. But whatever this is, clearly it has to be one of these two because it can't be the same as these two. Okay. What do I need to look at here? I keep switching back and forth and looking at Renbans and then killer cage digits to try to kind of find that in. Excuse me. And I'm not quite seeing it. Again, this is just a vision thing, being able to see where the right place to look is. Well, I guess that means this has to be a 1, doesn't it? Now that I look at these options. Well, no, it doesn't mean that, because we still have a remaining digit that we have not determined for high and low, or odd and even. Okay. No, I thought I had something there, but I didn't. Come on. What are we doing here? I mean, saying that we have to have a 1 up here isn't necessarily going to get us moving forward. We know there's a 1 and a 9. Okay, maybe that's what it is. Because we have to have a 1 and a 9 here, which means one of them has to be in this 15 cage. Now, if one of them's in the 15 cage, they both have to be in the 15 cage. Because they must be paired with a 5. So it was either going to be the 735 or the 915. Now we know one of these two must be 1 or 9, so therefore both of them are 1 and 9. This has to be 5. And these have to be from 3 and 7. Now, if we know that, we can say there has to be a 5 in one of these, so we can get rid of this 5 and put a 9, 4 in. Therefore, there's no 4s over here. Okay, which means one of these is 4. Which means one of these is 4, which means this one is not. So hopefully we're going to get a little bit of a cascade here, although it's not quite presenting itself. At least not yet. We know this is either a 1 or a 9, so you can put that in. Again, we know one of these is a 5, so we'll mark that as such. This can't be 5, 7, or 9, so it's either 1 or 3. Oh, that's 7 right here. Right there. Let's just do that. 3 and 7. Okay, so this cannot be 3, 5, 7, or 9, so therefore it is a 1. So therefore we know what this is. If this is 1, this has to be from 2, 4, and 6. This has to be from 3 and 5. That forces this to be an 8. These have to be from 1, 7, and 9. They're not quite enough there. Okay. Now, we still don't quite know what this is in the other, whether it's the 1 or the 9 in here. We do know that the other digit that is a 1 or a 9 must be in here. This can't be a 3, so therefore this is a, well, we could look here, this is a 5. So let's get rid of those. This is our 1, 3, 9 triple. So we have to have a 7 in whatever the remaining digit is here. We could also look at that 7, say that for this. That's a 3, 5, so this is a 7. Get rid of that. Okay. So one of these has to be a 7, and it can't be this one. So this is our water 7, which means now we can say these are oil, water, oil, and we've finally gotten that sorted out. This is a given now as a 9. It's all that's left in this row. What can we say elsewhere? So we know one of these is also an 8, because this 8's ruling it out from here. Which means this can't be an 8. This guy here, what can it be? It can't be 4, and it can't be 8. So it's either a 2 or a 6. Which forces an 8 up here, so this is not 8. Not 8, sorry, wrong button. Therefore, one of these is an 8, which means this is our 8. This is either 2, 4, or 6, and it can't be 4, so it's 2 or 6. Again, we knew the 4 was up here. And this is the other 2, 6. Okay. What's next? These guys. Let's start looking what their options are. They are from 2, 4, and 6. How does that help us? Does it at the moment? That's the real question, I guess. Okay, let's look at this region. There's a 9 here, so this must be 9. So now we know that these have to be 7, 5, and 3. These have to be 4, 6, and 8 to work our Renban. Which means this is not 4 or 6, so it is 2. Get those out. These are not 2s. Alrighty. We know there's a 9 up here by Sudoku, which means we have an X-wing in 9. So one of these is 9. Let's put it in. If this is 9, we would know this is a 3, and that would kind of break these things up, but we're not quite there yet. That 7 can't be there. This 7 can't be there, so this is the 7. Okay. Once we start going back and looking at our Sudoku, it tends to help. This must be a 7, which means this is a 9-7 pair by Sudoku. We've got a 1, 3, 5 left over, and 3, 5 is here. So this is 1. Means this is 9 and 1. That's 7 and 9. This is 3 or 5. Okay. Now we know what these three have to be. They have to be from 3, 5, and 7. This can't be 7. So these are 1 and 9. And this can't be a 1. So this is 9. This is 1. This is 3. This is 3. Click. That 9 also clears this. So that's 1 and 9. Okay. And let's just continue staring at this thing. And what do we have? There has to be a 2 up here somewhere. Don't know that that gives us much, does it? Unless we can rule out 2s as option in this 11, because it would create something with the 3 or a 5 to cause a conflict here. Okay. This digit right here is a 1. That's a 3-5 pair, so this has to be a 2-8 pair. Which means this is not 8. This is not 2. So there is a 2 over here. If there's a 2 over here, these have to be from 2, 4, and 6. It can't be 2, though. So we have to maintain the Renban, so that forces this to be an 8. That 3 actually here gives us a 5. So let's put that in. Again, just have to take a second to look around and you'll find some of this stuff. Now, if we know this is a 5, we've got 6 left over, and it has to be 2 even digits, so therefore it must be 2, 4. That's going to force that out as a 4. This has to be a 6 or an 8. This has to be a 6 or an 8. So we get a 6, 8 pair here now. So this is 4. This one's not anymore. Okay. We get a 6, 8 pair here, so that's not 6. So we know one of these two is. Can we do anything with this column, perhaps? We can. This is going to be a 2, because we haven't placed a 2 yet, and we have a 2, 6 looking here. So this is 2. Then this, oh, I'm having trouble speaking today. This has to be from 4 or 8. And it's already 8 there, so this is 4, which means this is 6, which means this is 4. Okay. And can we do anything with the math sum? This one, no. So if this was 6 and 2, this would have to be a 9, which it cannot be. So this must be 8 and 2. And we'll come back over here in a second. That leaves this as a 3, 5 pair. But if we have 8 and 6, we're at 14. So this has to be our 3. So we get 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. Well, that seems to be working nicely. This 2 comes over here, gives us a 6. So none of these can be 6s. That gives us our 4 and our 6. This is not 2 or 4, so it is 8. These are not 8s. Do we have anything else looking in here? We have a 2, 4 pair here, so this is a 6. That gives us an 8 and a 2 and a 6 and 8 and 6 and 8 and 6. Just kind of going around the block there. We have to put an 8 somewhere in here. Can't go here or here, so it has to go here. This has to be from 2 or 4, because all it's left over. This has to be from 2 or 4. This is a given digit of 1. Now we know what this is. So these are going to be 3s and 5s. Forces this to be a 9. There's probably Sudoku there as well, but I was kind of just sticking on this guy for the moment. That 3 here as well gives us a 5 and a 3. All right, so we should be pretty good here. We just got to finalize our digits. And let's look across the board. We need a 1 and a 9. We have the 1s and 9s looking at us. This is 9. This is 1. That 9 didn't quite do anything. These have to be 5 and 7. Let's put those in. Do we have... We don't necessarily have anything. Okay, so we're going to have to use our cages or something along those lines to finish this one up. Okay, so this can't be a 2 because of this killer cage. It would force us to be a 9 total. This would have to be a 9. So this is 4. That's 10, 11. So this has to be 7, 5, 3, 7, 5, and 3. That 4 is going to set up our 2 and 4, which we can kind of propagate throughout here. This is 2. Let's get rid of those. That 6 over here as well is going to finish this. That 4 did as well. The 2 here gives us a 6 and a 2, and we are left with a 1. And there we go. We solved the puzzle. Solution is correct. So, not bad. That was a lot of fun. Figuring out the oil and water, once I get my brain past the normal concepts of odds and evens and the colorings that I used, worked out quite well. It did take me a little while to just spot where the locations to really start putting in the digits was, but once I got there, it flowed beautifully. It's an excellent puzzle. I hope you'll enjoy that one. It was certainly a fun one. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.